This episode of the C4 Transmission is brought to you in part by Popcorn Production and Pepsi Zero, the choice of the new generation. Less sugar, same great taste. Grab a Pepsi Zero today. Well, here we are, folks. Video number 5. The part that I've been dreading the most is the valve body for the C4 transmission. So far, I've got it, the bolts out. I've got the check balls removed. When I replace it, when I get this cleaned up and get it rebuilt, I will not be using the shallow transmission filter. Rather, I will be using this deep transmission filter because I decided to go with a deep pan. Let's tear into this. I'll show you how it comes apart. We'll clean it up and we'll start the reassembly. Well, here we are. The bolts are out, like I said. Everything is removed so we can take this valve body apart. You have to pay special attention to this as you take it apart. Do I remember how all these bolts go in the different patterns? No, I do not. But when I put it back together, I'm going to do trial and error, see which one fits, see which one doesn't fit, because certain bolts go in certain places. On the back side, there is a spot for, I believe, 1 or 2 bolts. So first off, what I want to do is remove the top and put it upside down on the left here. Like I said, the check balls are already out. And then I'm going to scoot this down a little bit this way. And then the metal spacer, it's got a gasket on top. We're going to replace that later after we get it all cleaned up. And I'm going to put that right there. Keep a rag nearby because this is messy. Okay, so I located a 5/16 wrench here, and I'm going to start on the back side of the valve body here and get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts removed. And again, those are 5/16. So we'll assemble that like that. That's in there. Okay, so we got that one taken apart. And I'm going left to right so I don't get these parts mixed up and confused. And I will leave it there until I'm ready to reassemble. Okay, so next we have to take out the piston that's in this valve, that's in this portion right here. The end of it is there, and there is a little tab right here that needs to, you pull that out very gently. It's small, so don't lose it. We'll keep that right over here. So now, using a jeweler screwdriver, I'm going to go ahead and pull these portions out. Okay, there's that one. You just gotta get in there and inch this thing out with a jeweler screwdriver best that you can and get a hold of it with some needle nose. Pull that out. And then the spring, should be able to get that out now as well. There it is. Okay, there's the spring. So that goes there like that. Now the rest of this, okay, I'm just compressing that spring now. Looks like there's another lever right there. Okay, I see it now. You gotta get in there with your needle nose pliers. And there is another deal in there that looks like this. So there's one on the top side here. Now there's one right here as well. The lighting's not that good, but I'm going to try to pull that out. Okay, I got that out. Goes right there. And it fits in that groove and that brass component right there. So we're going to put this on the bottom side here. Now I have a feeling the rest of this should come out quite easily. I'm going to put my finger at the end here so nothing flies out of here. Just got to work this out now without damaging anything. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. I'm sure there's a tool made for this, but I don't have it and I don't know, and you know, trial and error. That's all we do, right? There it is. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, so this spring goes in first with all the other components in there. And again, there's a lot. This goes against that. That goes against there. And that goes against that like so. So we're going to set this right over here. This is the back side of that. It's going to get confusing, folks. There's a lot of little parts here. And then this. Oh, let's see. Spring goes on that. Looks like a, okay, that's a ring right there that comes out. That's removable. Okay, so I'm going to get my little tool pliers here, spread that apart. Alright, so looking at the bottom of the valve body right here, I've got all the parts laid out how I took them out. For example, this and all this components fit into this chamber here, and this is the stopper plate that screws on the back side. Same with this one, goes into this hole right here, I'm sorry, and you can see my screwdriver in there. All of this goes into that hole, all of this goes into this hole, and this little compartment, this right here goes into this chamber hole right here, and then all of this I should move it down here, but let me orientate this better. All of this right here goes into this chamber hole right here. And then this goes into the little hole next to it, and this is your stopper to hold it all back. Okay? And don't forget, right here, you have a part, this little L bracket gets jammed in between here, right here, okay? So that doesn't come out. That's the only thing that holds that in. So I'm putting that right there so I don't lose it. Next, you have this little piston, this little setup right here, which goes into this slot right here. And again, you have another L bracket right there that slides into place once it's in the valve body, and it fits right here. Okay, just like that. So we're keeping all this together here. So all this needs to be cleaned up. I'm gonna set it all out as I clean it back how it is now to make reassembly a little easier. I need to do a little research to see how a couple components goes into this valve body, mainly right here in this area. This is where I lost track of some things. Here and in this area here. I'm not sure how this clip goes in to hold this once it's back in the valve body. So this is the bottom of the valve body itself. All the parts are removed. A lot of springs, a lot of parts, a lot of headache. Okay, so here we are at the valve body, completely disassembled. Everything has been cleaned and wiped off, and we're ready to start to reassemble. First, we're gonna lubricate everything in transmission oil. I got a small thing of transmission oil right here, and I'll be dropping everything in there. Make sure it's lubricated really well. So you pick this up and you pick up the spring and you insert it in this first body, right, this first hole right there. Okay. Good idea to use a small screwdriver when doing this. Get everything pushed into place. And then next, dip this in transmission fluid. And put that on the top. And then you have a very small retaining clip right here, as you can see. And what you do, you push this in. It's gonna go right in this area right here. So you gotta push this in and push this down until you can push it all the way down into place, and there it is. Okay, so that's locked into place. So this valve we just assembled here is the accumulator valve. So that's where I started to rebuild the valve body. Okay, so next we're gonna install the first and second shift valve right in this area, and that is right here in this line here. So we're gonna, that's what it looks like, and then we're gonna put that in transmission fluid. Again, this is the first and second shift valve. Take your spring, put that inside right there like that. Then you install the valve as so. Okay, the spring is engaged. And then last, take the top part, put that in transmission fluid. And you pop that in place also. Okay, so next we're going to install the second and third shift right in here. That's the second and third valve shifter. So we're going to start with putting this in transmission fluid. Using a jeweler's screwdriver, pushing it into place. And then we're gonna put the front half of the second and third shifting valve in the fluid, get it lubricated. Then we're gonna take this spring, we're gonna set inside there. We're going to feed this in. Just like so. So we've got your accumulator valve, first and second valve, second and third valve. Now at this point, we'll put on the plate. Okay, so next we're going to install the first and second transition valve, and it's this piece right here. A little fluid on it. Take the spring, put the spring in place. Take the rest of the valve. Put that in place also. Now on the video I'm watching, they show a spring coming in here to rest up against the plate. When I took this apart, I made certain for sure all my parts were not lost. All my parts were there. I never had a spring in here. So I don't know why in the video for the first and second transition there's a spring there in the video, but on mine there is not. I have no idea. So next we're going to install the cutback valve. Get some fluid on that. The cutback valve goes right here where my finger is. It goes in just like this. No spring. And then next we can install the plate. If later I find that there is an extra spring here somewhere for some reason, I will come back and address that in the video, but mine does not have that spring there. In fact, on the plate you can see the indentation where this portion goes. It's been resting against here. You can see that clearly on here. If there is a spring in place, there would not be no indentation on this at all. So I'm thinking I'm right. I'm thinking this is a different modification that Ford did for some reason. and I'm putting it together just like this. Okay, so that's the one side. Everything's in place. Okay, so next at this point, we're done with this side. Got everything in place there, got the plates screwed into place. Now we're gonna move to the other side here. And we're gonna start with installing the throttle boost valve, which is right here. Put that in place. Then we'll install the spring. A little fluid on that as well. Next, I'm going to compress the spring. There we go. Okay, next I'm gonna install the primary throttle valve. We're gonna go right in here with it, next to where we just were. Put that in some transmission fluid. Goes in just like so. Next, we're going to put in the retaining cup. Put the small spring in the middle. Put the larger spring on the outside. Slide that into place. Next, I do believe this is the vacuum diaphragm. Put that in some transmission fluid. Get it nice and lubed up. And slide this right into place. Hold that down with your thumb to install the small retaining clip. Okay, and here we go. Okay, next we are going to take the manual valve, which is this right here. It's going to go in this port, in this hole right here, just like this. So we're going to lubricate this. When we get it in the valve body, we're going to want to put a clip right here in this notch. So pay attention to that when you put it in. Okay, now it's in. We're going to flip it over. Here's your clip. We're going to push that right into place. Right here. That's secure. That'll be the stopper now for that. Okay, so next, moving on the other side of the valve body, on this side here, we are going to be installing the downshift valve right here. There's a couple clip holes, ports on the back side. And so start with your downshift valve. Drop it in transmission fluid. Drop it into place. Push it in if you need to. Next, you have a spring. Lubricate that. Next, a little tricky part. You need to compress the spring after flipping the valve body over. Right here. Next, we're going to install the valve. Lubricate it. Push the screwdriver. Next is the spring. And then the front head clip. So at this point, you push that, you hold that in, push that in with the screwdriver. And this metal bracket is your clip. It's got a hole right there to clip on the front of the head. But where I'm at right now is we're looking at this spring right here. If you look back at the valve body, it's this one right here. We've installed this one, and this was the last one. So you want to put this in with the pin to the back and the head to the front. And there's a pin that holds everything in place. I don't know if you can see that. There's a pin right here that holds everything in place, and that's what I did not show you. So it's pretty self-explanatory how it goes in. You put the spring in through this way, through this end, put the valve in,
Then you put the head in, and you push it back with a screwdriver like this, and you lightly hammer in this pin that holds everything in place. Now we're going to move on to the rest of the valve body here, and we've got to put some check balls in, and these check balls here, which I got from Cobra Transmission. Cost me $2.86, but it cost me $6 to ship it. Price you gotta pay. Here's the old ones, and we're not gonna use these. So we're gonna put the balls in here. There's a this is upside down, so there's a bathtub here where one goes, and then there's a bathtub right, where's it at? There's a bathtub on this side as well. Right there is the bathtub, and right here gets a little hockey puck looking thing. So I'm going to use some assembly glue and put the balls in there, and the assembly glue will hold it in place, and then we will get the separator plate in and gasket, and we'll get this all screwed together here. Alright, so here we are at the valve body here. We're going to have two different size screws when we put the valve body together. We are going to have you're going to need a 5/16 socket, and you're also going to need a 10mm socket as well. But most of the bolts are the 5/16. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my assembly glue, and I'm going to set that right here. And I'm going to open up this bag with the two balls in it. And like I said, there's two bathtubs, one on each side, and I'm going to put assembly glue on it to hold it in place, so they don't fall out of place. I'm going to empty this out, and the assembly glue will hold it in place while we do what needs to be done here. So this is the bottom half of the valve body for the C4, and here's the first bathtub right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, I'm going to pick that up, gently put that in place, and we're going to get a little assembly glue just like so, and we're going to smear that inside the bathtub there to hold that ball in place. And again, this assembly glue turns to transmission fluid whenever it gets hot, so it's okay. There is this hockey puck, so it's not right there, and that goes in this area right here. So we're going to drop that into place. Make sure it's in there flat. We're going to get some more assembly glue. We're going to put right on top of the hockey puck. Hold that in place. One more check ball. Right there. And what these check balls do, they act as a one-way valve. So whenever your transmission is operating, it allows fluid to come in, and then the ball will block that hole and allow fluid not to go out, or vice versa, however it works. So we'll just put that right in there. A little assembly glue. Alright, so they're not going anywhere now. Okay, next, what I'm going to do is we need to bring these two halves together. And before I do that, there is a gasket here. The kit that I had gave me two different gaskets. Just want to make sure that this gasket lines up with your valve body separator plate. And you just take them, line on top, make sure all the holes of the valve body are where they should be. So you look on top there, that looks good. Flip it over, and you look at all the holes down on the plate side, and they're all fine. We're gonna dip this in transmission fluid for a minute, let it sit in there. And before you do that, make sure you don't have any burrs or anything, any dirt, dust, or what have you on here, because you don't want that speck of dust getting into your valve body and clogging everything up eventually. So we'll just drop that in some transmission fluid here. While we're waiting on that to soak in the transmission fluid, let me show you a close-up of the check ball right there in the upper half of the valve body. Then the hockey puck is down in this hole here. Now in the upper half of the valve body, we got the check ball right there in that bathtub. So that's where it needs to be. Gonna get the gasket out. Let it drip for a minute. This half, make sure you get the right way. It only fits on one way. Okay. Make sure all your holes are lined up. And then we will take the separator plate, put that on top. What I try to do is line them up with the holes for your pump, your transmission pump. That's where the screens go, and that's all the holes are pretty lined up there, so I think we're good on that. So now we'll take the upper portion of the valve body with all the valves in it, and we'll just line that up on top. Start with the 10 millimeter screws first, and just finger tighten those right now, one in each corner, and that will hold your valve body together. Now you can flip it over. Now in this area here, we have a spring mechanism and a little piece of a valve that goes in this spot right here. So we're going to drop that into place. Then we're going to put the spring on top. I'm going to put some fluid on the spring. So now, what we want to do, the filter is going to compress the spring down whenever we get that in place. Now right here in the filter, looks like it's going to be this size. You got 4 of these screws. Okay. 2, 3, and 4.